Hello friends, this is Vineet Dubey. I am Assistant Professor in Department of Pharmacy, Sri GS Institute of Technology and Science, Indore. And today I am going to discuss my presentation on sources of contamination in the aseptic area and its prevention. First we have to understand what is asepsis. Asepsis is the state of being free from all sort of contaminants. Now what is contamination? Contamination is presence of an impurity, and in our context it is a microbial impurity. So contamination is presence of a microbial impurity. Aseptic technique is one which is designed to prevent contamination. Now there are many sources of contamination which affect the working in aseptic area, and we will discuss all these one by one. First and foremost source is air. Air contains microbes, dust, droplets expelled from our mouth, and many spores. Microorganisms can be saprophytic bacteria as well as pathogenic microorganisms. Then the dust particles can be carried from the air, which can also contain microorganisms entangled in dust. Then the droplets which is expelled from our mouth, it also contains heavy load of microorganisms. The bigger droplets get settled down, but the smaller ones get solidified and remain in the atmosphere itself, dispersed, causing contamination. Then the spores of fungi as well as bacteria, they also remain in air and thus remain as a possible source of potential contaminant. Then breathing is another source of contamination. The coughing and sneezing gives rise to droplets which get ejected from mouth, and it can be propelled to a considerable distance. It can contribute to the atmospheric flora, and also the direct contamination of articles is possible through this breathing. Then the skin has a resident population of non-pathogenic microorganisms, and there is also a transient population on the skin which arises on touching non-sterile objects. It can also be picked up on using toilets or on blowing our nose. The hair always contain a huge quantity of dust particles which carry along with dust microorganisms also, and all these particles get shaded on any sort of head movement, thus causing the contamination in the working area. The next source of contamination is our clothing. Mainly the street clothing contains heavy load of dust particles which can be easily distributed into the working area. The working surfaces also contain particulate material from many sources, including dust particles which settle down on the horizontal surfaces and to a lesser extent on vertical surfaces as well. Now, how can we prevent contamination from all these sources in order to ensure the effective working of the aseptic technique? First of all, let us talk about contamination arising from the airborne particles. To prevent this contamination, we can use an area which is fitted with a fan which draws in air through a suitable filter. By maintaining positive pressure within the room also, it can be ensured that the dust is not blown into the room from the outside. We can also have a provision for entrance ports which is fitted with doors at each end in order to prevent a sudden inrush of air into the working area. prevent contamination from the breathing, we'll have to use close fitting masks, and these masks should be changed frequently if we have to work for longer periods of time. Another approach can be screen working area, in which working area is covered by a screen. Articles placed under this screen are free from dust particles or free from any sort of contaminants. For this we can use many approaches, including aseptic cabinets, which can be devised. There can be cabinets in which arms are inserted into the area through various ports. Then there can be use of laminar airflow cabinets. Laminar airflow cabinets have provision of HEPA filtered air, which prevents turbulence into the working area, and also it has ultraviolet lamps for sterilizing of the working area. To prevent contamination arising through skin, we can wash our hands well and scrub our nails and hands, and this can be done with the help of disinfectant solution. And the best possible way to prevent contamination arising through skin is to avoid any unnecessary contact with the working area through our direct skin. Always we have to wear gloves while working in the aseptic area. The contamination arising through hair can be prevented by wearing caps. Frequent washing of hair is also very useful in decreasing the microbial load from the hair, including dandruff or skin particles or dirt particles from the hair. Then it is always advisable to tie back long hair so as to prevent contamination arising from the hair. Clothing, for avoiding the contamination from clothing, we have to gown ourselves. That means we have to remove our street clothing and replace that with another set of clothing which is dedicated for the use inside the working area, and also avoiding unnecessary contact with the clothing in the working area. To prevent contamination from working surfaces, they have to be cleaned and disinfected with bactericide. Also, the areas around our working area, they should be kept clean, including the working surfaces, cleaning the surfaces of walls of the working area, and by cleaning the floor by frequent swabbing to prevent dust rising from it. By adapting all these measures, we can ensure that the contamination in aseptic area is minimized and proper working of aseptic technique can be ensured. These are the assessment questions for the use of students who can attempt these after listening to the lecture, so as to understand their understanding of the subject. This is the reference of my work, Bentley's Textbook of Pharmaceutics. And finally, I thank all of you for the patient listening. Thank you so much.